Turn one soul ring.
Wow, what a time to be alive, huh, guys?
Very much.
We just not even in the same room, and we're doing a podcast.
Technology these days. Am I right?
Technology's a crazy thing. Wow.
Yeah, but it's still fucking infuriating.
Always has been.
And you know what?
Yeah,
I'm
it's
beginning
not.
to think No, Eric's firmly in the camp that it's not. But Eric, I think that's because you just have an unlimited well of patience, which is why you work in customer service.
It's also because I like technology as well. And
Yeah.
I'm probably part of it, but
I'd hope so.
All right, well, we have a lot of cards to get to today, so let's just kick things off. This is Turn 1 Soul Ring. I'm Kevin.
hey, I'm Eric.
And I'm Riley.
And today on the show, we are going to be continuing our Kaldheim set review with part 3. Today we will be covering the green and colorless cards that were interested from this set, despite what we normally do. We normally hit gold before we get to colorless and lands, but because we have so many gold cards to talk about, we're going to save that for part 4, and today we're going to be doing green, colorless, and land cards.
Lands are colorless.
They are colorless, but I just like to mention it because some people are like,
know.
well,
We always-
actually, I don't want to get the
We
well
always do.
actuallys, you know?
We always
But they're
do.
put into play as a state-based action and not put on the stack.
Riley, that was exactly the comment I was trying to avoid. No, I love all of the well actually the people that comment. Please comment. Before we kick off today with our first green card, which is I believe, well, we're going to get to it in a second. And until we do, Eric is going to let us know how you, the listener, can get in touch with us.
The very first card we're talking about is the very first card I got to draft.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Spicy.
Anyways.
Spicy.
You can find us over on Instagram at Turn One Soul Ring the podcast. You can also message us directly via email, turn1soulringthepodcast at gmail.com. We also throw everything on YouTube. Best way is to search up Turn One Soul Ring the podcast to find us. And also, if you really like what we're doing here, we have something called a Patreon page. You can go check us out over there, and there's some fun things on that site. So patreon.com/turn1soulring.
And we are doing a giveaway right now. A la our 100th episode, we're giving away a commander deck, and that we live built. And there are a few ways to enter. I think this will be released on February 11th, so you do have a few days to enter before we pull for the winner. But if you go to iTunes, rate and review us, that's an entry. If you comment on the post for that 100th episode on Instagram, your favorite card doesn't have to be your favorite card, just a card that we put into the deck. Be like, I like that card. Just like Pongify, I like that card. That's an example. Or you can go to YouTube for that episode, and same thing. Just comment on your favorite card that we put into that live deck build. We live deck built Verisol the Split Current. It's all about kicker and copying kicker spells. So go check that out. Enter that giveaway. It's a commander deck. It's fully sleeved. It's in a deck box. It's got tokens. It's got the whole thing. I think the only thing we're not sending you is dice.
Yeah.
But
Get
there's
your
no
own
word.
dice.
Yeah, get you. Well, you have dice. I'm sure you have dice. So let's kick things off, and also to the significant others of Magic players, or just fantasy players in general. Get them dice as a gift. I've started to get dice as gifts the last year or so, and it is a fantastic gift. And Ainsley, who edits the show and who is my partner, it's a great gift. I'm talking to you right now, which you know what I mean by that. Get more. So we're kicking things off today with Battle Mammoth. It's 3 green for a 6/5 elephant with trample. Whenever a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. That's some great green card draw right there. And it has foretell for 2 green.
Oof.
I definitely got to play this on turn 4. And that's a
Oh,
6/5
nice.
trample.
That is
Yeah, that replaces itself if somebody tries to deal with it.
yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a all-around fantastic card. Like the fact that it protects all of your permanents with this ability to replace themselves if your opponent targets them with an ability or a spell. It's pretty incredible. Like
It's got like
Magic-
6 antlers. You guys see that? It's like 6.
Yeah.
it would be Tusks.
Man, tusks. Yeah, tusks. Sorry, antlers
Yeah.
come off the top. Tusks come off the bottom.
Sure.
But yeah, overall solid green card. Like,
Even casting it for 5, like a 5-mana 6/5 trample that replaces itself is fantastic. But yeah, dropping
yeah.
this on turn 4 is nuts.
Big game, and it's an elephant, guys. Elephant tribal. Come on.
Yeah, I got the beast in my sights, right? That was a Hearthstone reference. I thought Eric would get it. So next up we have Blessing of Frost. It's 3 and a green for a snow sorcery. Distribute X 1/1 counters among any number of creatures you control, where X is the amount of snow mana spent to cast the spell. Then draw a card for each creature you control with power 4 or greater.
so that's definitely not a new thing for green. We see a lot of cards that have, draw a card for each creature with power 4 or greater.
Wasn't that ferocious?
It's either 3 or 4. It might be 4. I think yeah.
Yeah, Ferocious cared about power 4.
Okay. And then obviously card draw, and then also getting to pump your creatures. That's a nice little sorcery card.
and it's counters like they stay. They
stay.
You'd always prefer counters over a momentary pump.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it curves out pretty nicely. Like if you on turn 2 play a 2/2, and then on turn 3 you play a 3/3. Obviously I'm just giving out generic vanilla creatures, but on turn 4 being able to pump those creatures up and draw 2, maybe draw 3 cards with Blessing of Frost, it just seems like pretty fun game, like pretty fair game.
Yeah, for sure.
Filling up your hand, making your threats bigger, just seems like a good time.
Yeah,
Great
that is
time.
what green is all about.
Green's here for the good times.
It is, and this is a feel good set, so I'm glad we finally got to the feel good color.
Yeah, I really have to say, what a blessing.
Yeah.
Hashtag blessed.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Next up, we have Blizzard Brawl. It's 1 green for another snow sorcery. Choose target creature you control and target creature you don't control. If you control 3 or more snow permanents, the creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains indestructible until end of turn. Then those creatures fight each other.
This card's great for limited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great for stompy decks as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely see this seeing play in standard constructed. Paying 1 green for removal is definitely a very good rate. So
Too bad it wasn't common. This would have been great in Pauper.
yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
It
Just
would have been a real ram through.
it's just the fact that it not only pumps the power 1, but grants it indestructible if you're paying with snow mana. It's just big game, because one of the downsides with fight spells, especially fight spells at sorcery speed, is usually you're using it on one of your creatures and to kill one of your opponent's creatures, and then it makes it so that you can't really swing in with that creature this combat.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're gonna lose it and trade it off with another one of your opponent's creatures. But this totally gets past that by giving it indestructible and just taking out like trading up for a bigger threat and then being able to swing in during combat. Like that's pretty big game.
It's good stuff.
BGH. I got the beast in my sights. Next up, we have Boreal Outrider. It's 2 and a green for a 3/2 snow elf warrior. Whenever you cast a creature spell, if snow mana of if snow of any of that spell's color was spent to cast it, that spell's creature enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it.
It's a
So it's,
mouthful.
the templating on some of these cards, I'm not I'm not loving.
It's a little
but
complex, yeah.
I get it. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Basically, if you're spending snow, it enters with a 1/1 counter on it, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Well, it has to be snow of one of the colored pips.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it has to be green snow.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
so you can't use an
it's getting
off-color
pretty meta
land.
with the snow.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like you couldn't use like a swamp to pay for a green card and get a 1/1 counter on it.
Exactly, yeah. It would have to be green.
Yeah.
Like a snow-covered forest for a green card.
Not unless you had the World Tree, right, which lets you tap land of any color. So if you tap like a snow swamp, it could be a snow forest.
Yeah.
It could tap
Okay.
for snow green, but you couldn't use
Yeah,
the
snow
World
green.
Tree's mana.
Yeah.
Because the World
No,
Tree's
no.
not snow.
Yeah, but you could. is there you know how we have those cards that like make everything like a certain like card type or a
Mhm.
creature type? Is there something that makes everything snow? Have we gotten that yet?
I feel like there is some janky cards in the original Ice Age block.
Because
that-
in like
that
in
did that.
Cold Snap, I saw somebody post something on Instagram, and it was an enchantment that it had like a cumulative upkeep, of course, but it wasn't one of the good cumulative upkeeps from Cold Snap. But like snow permanents didn't untap during their controller's untap step, and I think it had a cumulative upkeep of 2. I think it was like a green enchantment or something. But that was kind of fun. It's just I'm seeing a lot of these, snow related cards being posted on
Yeah,
account
yeah.
of Kaldheim, of course.
Yeah. Also, Kevin, the second time you said the big game hunter, I remember that card from Hearthstone.
Yeah, you know what? It sees literally no play in
Really?
any format. No.
Oh man, that was like a staple.
Well, it was, but then they nerfed it to it's like 5. I think it's like 5 mana. So I think originally it was it 3 or 4?
It was 3 or 4. Definitely wasn't 5.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, now it's been 5 for quite a while, and it sees no play.
I really feel it was 3.
I think it was. I think
Yeah.
they
Damn,
really
that's big.
they really didn't have things figured out in their early days. We have Elven Bow next. It's 1 green for an artifact equipment. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay 2. If you do, create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. Then attach Elven Bow to it. Equipped creature gets +1/+2 and has reach, and the equip cost is 3.
Like being able to give your creatures reach for 3 unlimited can kind of pay off. And then +1/+2 in this current format gives it a nice bigger butt. So it's actually kind of I think this card's kind of decent for that.
Yeah, for 3 mana, you're getting a sizable defensive creature.
Yeah, 2/3
Yeah,
with reach.
Yeah.
It's not too bad. Yep.
I definitely got I had like a nice one of my drafts. I was like blue-white flyers, and then dude dropped this, and I didn't have any artifact removal, and I was like, it actually kind of stomped me. I was like, oh, no way.
Yeah.
We have Elvish Warmaster next. It's 1 and a green for a 2/2 elf warrior. Whenever one or more other elf creatures enters the battlefield, or elves enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 elf warrior creature token. This ability triggers only once each turn. That's a disappointment.
Yeah.
But you can pay 5 green. Elves you control get +2/+2 and gain Death Touch until end of turn. So we've gotten a little bit of this in this set, and the Commander Precon, the Golgari Elf Commander Precon for this set, with giving elves Death Touch, sort of turning them into kind of unblockable threats, even though they're elves are pretty low to the ground generally, but I have a mono green Azuri deck, and I've even thought about putting this in that deck as a kind of lieutenant commander, right? Because Azuri has that, that mana sink ability where you give your elves a pump, and Azuri gives them trample. This guy gives them a pump and Death Touch. And I'm not, the specific scenario where you're using these abilities is the important thing. Sometimes you want that Death Touch, sometimes you want that trample. It really depends. But I think it in those decks, this card is a solid include. Like the mono green elf decks in Commander. If you have Azuri, if you have, I'm not sure what else you would run as a commander, but no, this card is going to be great in those in the Golgari decks we have, because like Eric said last episode, with the inclusions we've gotten from Commander Legends and this set and the precon from this set, I think this card is going to see a ton of play, and it's just a fantastic lieutenant commander almost in those decks that just want to go wide and swing with elves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, this is fantastic for elves. Do you run Dwinian's Elite in your Azuri deck?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, this is I think this is like a stronger Dwinian's Elite.
yeah,
just because, of course, like you're only getting 1/1 every turn if a elf enters the battlefield, but it considers tokens. Probably one of the reasons why it has only turns once this turn, because then you just go infinite and
that would be
reach an infinite game state.
And then you just play Concordant Crossroads or a Chroma's Memorial and just swing for the fences. Or Crashing Drawbridge, very underrated card.
Yeah, but just that value over time from your 2-drop, like not only are you getting an elf likely every turn in a dedicated elf deck, but then you have that threat of activation on that ability. It's a little bit far-fetched to think that it pairs well with Azuri's ability of granting your elves trample and then granting death touch, because that's a lot of mana to sink into your elves. But trample and death touch work very well together.
Yeah, because it's like Azuri's ability is 3 green, so
yeah.
It's
like an overrun.
It's 12 mana total.
I think it's 2 and then green.
You're right. Yeah, it is. I think it's the same as his casting cost.
Well, his casting cost is 1 green.
Yeah,
1 green.
He's like 3 drop.
Right, you're right. Yeah, it's 3 drop.
Yeah, like I know Riley's explained it on a previous episode. I think how like trample and death touch works, where you can just assign 1 damage to the creature and kill it.
And then assign everything else to the player. Yeah.
Exactly. So this is a nice little combo there.
It's a little bit win more, because at that point, like if you have another 5 mana to sink into Azuri, like that's equally as threatening.
As good as this, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's more stylistic to do both, right? And that's
like, look what I can do, hey?
Look what I can do. And that's that's a little bit of my style, and like I've already made cuts for this card to go into Azuri, and it's not anyone who's played mono green or mono black knows that it doesn't take a lot to get to 12 mana.
Yeah, especially with the elf decks, just like making all that mana. But I even think like the Elvish Warmaster, like for Azuri, even just having his top ability makes it worthwhile to put it in the deck.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's fantastic.
And let that be a lesson to all of you. Have lieutenant commanders in the deck, because sometimes, you're just having a bad day and you cannot make that commander stick. Also, though, don't build your decks around your commander so much that it can't function without it.
Or do, and just understand that that's the price you pay.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Absolutely. Be okay with that.
Just know that,
Yeah.
So next up we have Esika, God of the Tree. She is 1 green for a legendary god, 1/4 with vigilance. You can tap to add a mana of any color to your mana pool, and other legendary creatures you control have vigilance and tap. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. And the flip side is the Prismatic Bridge, which costs Wooburg, white, blue, black, red, green for a legendary enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature or planeswalker card. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Whew.
I'll take a free card every turn. Yeah. I already built a brawl deck around her, and it's absurd. It's just so much value. Just every turn, every upkeep, getting something straight from your deck onto the battlefield is a lot of fun. So I imagine this would be a really fun 5-color commander to build as well.
No, for sure.
Especially considering that enchantments
Ri-
are difficult to remove. What's up?
Yeah, enchantments are the hardest permanent to remove. They're the hardest button to button.
But black's catching up.
Yes, black is catching up. But Riley, did you say that you built a brawl deck around this commander?
Yeah, on Arena.
Okay, that's still going on. They're still doing that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
1v1.
Cool.
So like I feel like Brawl has just evolved into like this casual singleton 1v1 format.
Yeah.
That just like I don't know. I actually enjoy playing Brawl more than most of the other formats on Arena, just because I do like the singleton aspect of it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. No, I wasn't like, it's like, oh, that's so lame. I was sincerely interested.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next up, we have Esika's Chariot. It's 3 and a green for a 4/4 legendary vehicle. When it enters the battlefield, create 2/2/2 green cat creature tokens. When it attacks, create a token that's a copy of target token you control, and the crew cost is 4. Those are bushy cats.
Right?
Yeah. Look at the little one just sitting in the sunbeam.
Yeah. God, I
Have a
love
good time.
cats.
Yeah. Very cute.
Yeah, I love this card.
This card is fantastic and limited.
Oh, yeah, it creates a lot of value.
Oh yeah, it's a house. It's great.
Well, it fuels itself, right? It
Mhm.
ETBs, you get the 2/2s, and then you can use those 2/2s to crew it. You get more 2/2s if that's all you have. Like it does everything on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. And I'm sure like if like this would be a pretty fun piece of tech to add into like a tokens matter deck. Especially if you're making like big dorks, like big tokens. Just being able to
copy one
copy
of those.
Yeah, be a lot of value. Good time.
And again, of course, it's an attack trigger, not a player damage trigger, so that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Always important to point out. That's what we want to see is attack triggers.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Finn the Fangbearer for 1 and a green. It's a 1/3 legendary human warrior with Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. So obviously, based on this set, this isn't going to do a whole lot in limited. I don't know about standard. I think you guys could speak more to that than I can. But if you wanted to run this as your commander, you could. I think this does make Infect a little bit better, and you wouldn't even have to run any creatures with Infect.
Yeah, like it would have been nice if this had like a partner on it, because then you could do like a green-black deck. You just have way more Death Touch creatures that way.
Mm-hmm. That would be cool. Yeah.
That would be better. Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, even in the 99 of like a Gruul, or sorry, not Gruul, Golgari, Death Touch themed deck, like this would be a fun include. Just another alternative way of winning the game.
Yeah, you may get somebody with poison counters that way.
Yeah.
I also lost to this card in limited, but not via poison, counters, because the dude pumped it up.
Yeah.
It was like a 5 or 6 power in the air, and I was like,
Yeah.
I just didn't draw my removal, and I'm like, I died via health, not poison.
I had a similar experience as well. It was just like they killed me with damage, not with poison.
Yeah.
Right, because the creatures still deal combat damage, and then you get the counters on top of it.
And you only get 2 no matter what.
Right. So it doesn't even stack with poison. So it was sort of interesting, like I wonder. I always want. I don't always, but I sometimes wonder what the designers are thinking. It's like, oh, like we'll give them this thing that gives poison counters, and do they think we're not gonna figure out what they're what they were thinking. It's like, we're gonna give them this poison counters, but it's not gonna stack like real infect. We're gonna give them this like diet infect, and it's like, guys, you already gave us infect. Unless you're gonna give us infect again,
Well,
we're just gonna like, it's not. I just wonder what they're thinking sometimes.
I mean, it like poison counters are poison counters. So whether they're whether the player's getting them through infect, or poison, or poisonous 1 or poisonous 2, like poison counters all stack. So like,
No, but I'm just saying it doesn't stack with like pumping up your death touch creatures.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right? Getting them, giving them more poison counters. Like, yes, they get more combat damage, they get more points of damage, but they're still only getting 2 poison counters with each death touch creature. That's what I mean.
But if you give your infect creature death touch,
well,
you get an additional 2.
And much like we were talking about last episode with I believe it was with Egon, we were talking about just like kind of strategies that are unfun objectively. They're unfun for everyone. I think infect is also one of those strategies. But I think infect is a little more unique in Commander, because infect is one of those things that is difficult to win with. And if you've ever piloted a dedicated infect deck, and I have, it does seem like, I only have to do 10 damage to each player. But you don't take into consideration, or at least I didn't, that you have to, each player, as soon as you play your first infect creature, because there are no commanders that are like, he's obviously playing infect, but the first creature, and they immediately turn on you and you become arch enemy.
Yeah.
You don't take that into consideration, and the game suddenly becomes much more difficult. So unlike those other strategies where it's sort of unfun for everyone, and then it's a little less unfun for you, with infect, it's unfun for everyone, but it's even more unfun for you. and in saying this, I'm not saying don't play it. I think if you're curious about a strategy or a combo or a build, I think you should do it. And see what happens, see how you feel, because if you haven't tried it, how do you know? But it's just infect is one of those things that I don't even think. I think the reaction to it sort of outweighs the threat.
Yeah, like people are way more afraid of infect than they need to be.
Yeah. I think the threat assessment is a little skewed, especially and I'm purely speaking about Commander.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Next up, we have In Search of Greatness. This is pretty much how I feel with every set release. It's 2 green for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a permanent spell from your hand with converted mana cost equal to 1+ the highest converted mana cost among other permanents you control without paying its mana cost. If you don't, scry 1. They keep doing this. They make a card that's just good. It's good, right? But then they're like, hey, if this card isn't gonna do the good thing that it's gonna do, you get to scry 1. It's just like, here's a little, it's just, it doesn't do nothing. Here's a little something for you. I love it.
I really feel like 80 to 90% of the time you're gonna scry 1.
Yeah.
Because it is only equal to like the highest CMC among what you control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got to be Xaxes. So I'm at first, like when I first saw this card, I was super excited for it because I was like, holy crap, like you're, like getting a strong mana advantage on this. Yeah. But in practice, like this card is really underwhelming. It is really more of just like a 2 mana enchantment that makes you scry 1 during your upkeep. But, unfortunately, it doesn't count itself, right? Like if it counted itself, that would be super cool, because then you could play this turn 2, then on turn 3 be able to cast like a 3-drop from your hand. That would have been super cool, but it requires quite a bit of setup, and things have to line up pretty much perfectly for you to get any notable value out of this. So it's
Yeah, I just noticed. I didn't even notice it said other permanents.
Yeah. Yeah, I've played against it, and I felt okay. Like I felt like
I wasn't
they
scared.
they spent a card on like a scry one ability, and then I ended up killing them. So it was okay by me.
You're like, I'm not a smart man, but I know what greatness is. Next up, we have Jorn, God of Winter. He's 2 and a green for a 3/3 legendary snow god. When he attacks, untap each snow permanent you control. And his flip side is Kaldheim, the Rhyme Staff, for 1 blue-black. For a legendary snow artifact, tap. You may play target snow permanent card from your graveyard this turn. If you do, it enters the battlefield tapped.
Yeah, everything about this card is like awesome. Running as your commander, you actually get to play Sultai.
Yep.
Which is always cool. And then I also feel like you should definitely run snow lands, obviously. And,
yeah, I mean, you don't have to, but
probably.
I
think you should.
I think you might be.
They're cheaper than they've ever been, so grab them up.
Yeah, but yeah, untapping all snow permanents when he attacks, and it's like untaps himself as well. Like, it's just like really good value.
Mm-hmm.
It's like vigilance for your lands.
Oh yeah. Next up, we have Kolvori, God of Kinship. I think it's a she. I don't want to be one of those people, but anyways, it's 2 green for a 2/4 legendary creature god. As long as you control 3 or more legendary creatures, it gets +4/+2 and has vigilance, and it has an activated ability for 1 and a green. Tap, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a legendary creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And the flip side is a legendary artifact for 1 and a green, the Ringheart Crest. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, add a green to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type or a legendary creature spell.
Yeah, you definitely can ramp, but having like a Legends Matters and paying 2 mana to go through and pick up another card is pretty dang good.
Yeah, if you have a Captain Sisay deck, this like the Ringheart Crest side, giddy up.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. And even if you wanted to run it as your commander, like having like a 2 mana artifact in the command zone, it's going to ramp you to 4 for whatever creature you're going to be playing, the creature of the chosen type, or legendary creature. Like, I think it would be an interesting exercise in deck building, just understanding that you do have access to this on turn 2 every game, and you could probably skew your deck in a way that you focus a little bit more on like 4 CMC creatures of a chosen type, or legendary creatures at 4 CMC, and just like get consistent value that way. So I mean that part is interesting to me.
Yeah, I wish, like, just for the fact of Commander, probably want to throw some bounce stuff in there, something if you want to get to the other side again.
Bounce an artifact in green? Might be tough.
Yeah, no, I think you'd need to, no. Yeah, because you can't even run that artifact, the Crystal Shard, because that has blue on it.
Mm-hmm. Although, there is that utility land that you can pay 2 and tap it to return like a commander you own to its owner's hand.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that
what was that? Was that from Ikoria?
That was from, I think that was from
from a commander set?
Yeah, it was from a commander set.
Was that from Ikoria commander?
Oh, I don't remember. I think it was the one with
was it like
your
Eternity?
your favorite morph commander.
Okay, damn it. Yeah, that's right. It was from that set.
Yeah.
It was.
I can't
Wasn't it
remember which-
something? Wasn't it something of eternity?
Sanctum of
it-
Eternity?
Something
about
like
right?
that, and it returned, and you could only do it on your turn.
Only on your turn, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was like Sanctum of Eternity.
Anyways, I'm sure the listeners are just like screaming at their,
Come on, you idiots.
wherever they're listening to this. Just,
Yeah, it is.
Oh
It
God.
is Sanctum of Eternity. So
Oh, okay, we got it. We did it.
yeah, from C19.
Okay. Yeah. Everybody relax. Okay.
Yeah,
We got it.
settle down, folks.
Next up, we have Mammoth Growth. It's 2 and a green for an instant. Target creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn, and you can foretell it for a single green. Thus, the long haul became a flat haul. Woo!
Yeah.
Got him.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously this is a super solid card.
I don't know. Is it?
I think it's... I always find things like this great in Limited because you swing in and then you can pump whatever isn't blocked and just like get that win there.
There's going to be a lot of foretelling on turn 2 in Limited.
Yeah. There.
I mean,
Yes.
there already has been.
There-
There
yeah.
already has
Yeah.
been. That's what it's. I'm like, oh, when I get to play paper again, I'm gonna be foretelling. It's like this set's gonna be like a year old.
Yeah. I mean, obviously this can be a pretty favorable combat trick, but I don't know. Like I'm looking at this in the lens of Pauper.
Okay.
As far as like Stompy goes, I'm not sure how much I'd want to be foretelling this.
Well, you don't know. You don't want to foretell anything in an aggro deck.
Yeah, I know, and
You
and
know,
that's,
not
that's kind
anything.
of like-
That's an exaggeration, but like you don't in that deck in like mono green Stompy and Pauper, you do not like this is not what you want to be doing on turn 2.
Exactly.
You do not want to be foretelling anything on turn 2. You want to be putting, turn 1 you put a threat on the board, turn 2 you pump it up, or you put another threat on the board.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the kind of like play pattern that you'd want to see in a deck like Stompy. So that's why I'm kind of feeling like Mammoth Growth. I don't know. It kind of looks appealing on paper, but in practice, I feel like the sequencing is awkward. So it probably ends up playing more like a 3-mana +4/+4, which is obviously not a card that's very appealing.
Yeah, that's a fair take. I wouldn't see this in Standard either.
Mhm.
Yeah, I almost look at it as more of like a protection spell. If you're foretelling it, just to have that. I don't know, just to win
Yeah.
combat. But I was only thinking about this as a limited card, but not.
That's where my mind goes. It's just
Yeah.
like, hey, this is like good. I feel like it's good in Limited. Like I've played with it and
Yeah.
gotten wins.
No, it is because in limited everybody is foretelling on turn 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, in a constructed thing, especially in Pauper, I feel there's also better options that give your creatures trample as well. So
Totally. Yeah. Next up, we have Masked Vandal for 1 and a green. There's a lot of characters in this set that are wearing like creepy masks and have horns, which just adds to the creepiness. Also, I've been rewatching season 1 of True Detective, which is also about masks and horns, and it's all just it's a jumble.
Blended.
I'm having a tough time. So, Masked Vandal, it's a 1/3 shapeshifter with changeling. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard. If you do, exile target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls.
Yeah, baby.
yeah, that's some good tech.
It's fantastic. Like, I mean, 2 mana for a changeling that exiles an artifact or enchantment most of the time. Just seems like really good value. Like I'd run this in elves. I mean, you already run things like Reclamation Sage in elves. And this seems perfect for that kind of deck, just being a nice utility creature that cares about the creature type you're playing.
Yeah, and also like I like this card for Limited as well because there could be a situation like you save it, but then it's like, oh, I really need a creature out there, and a 1/3 is something that can block stuff as well. So
Yeah, and there's a ton of like random artifacts and enchantments running around in Kaldheim, so it's definitely main deckable.
yeah,
Next up, we have Old Growth Troll. It's triple green for a 4/4 with trample. When it dies, if it was a creature, return it to the battlefield. If it's an aura enchantment with Enchant Forest you control, and Enchanted Forest has tap, add 2 green, and 1, tap, sacrifice this creature, create a tapped 4/4 green troll warrior creature token with trample. What the fuck?
This card's so cool.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's very good, but it's one tap sacrifices land, so it's sacrificing the land. It's enchanting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But it's fantastic. Like I'm super pumped. This is like I'm gonna get a copy and put this straight into my Canlander mono green Stompy deck. This is just like right up my alley.
And it's a friggin' 4/4 with trample for 3.
Exactly.
Yeah, like I think
That's
this
all I
would be
need.
good in my mono green Stompy Pioneer deck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely
Okay.
serviceable there as well.
Okay. It's,
Like, I mean,
well,
there's-
if it's
there's-
serviceable, I'm doing it.
Fucking do it, bud. But I mean, like it dies into an enchantment that like adds
Ramps
an
you.
additional mana, which is
Yeah.
whatever. But the fact that it you can sacrifice that land later on to get another 4/4 with trample is just like incredible.
It's so good value.
Yeah, I love this card. It's so fun.
Yeah, like speaking of that that archetype, what is that? The legendary enchantment cycle from Eldraine. What is the do you guys remember the name of the green one? The
Great Henge.
The price of that card, like, oh my goodness. Like I thought
crazy.
it was expensive when I bought a playset for that Pioneer deck, but oh my god. That was
What
like
is it now?
that was like a year
It's like-
ago.
like around $60 or something like that.
Yeah, like I bought those for like 20.
Yeah, it's like $48 US.
And I was like, that's too much. But I'm like, you know what? It's Pioneer. Pioneer's taken off. I got to get in on this. I like mono green. I like mono green Tron in modern. I'm going to like mono green in this other format. I got to get in on it. So,
Good on you buying a
yeah.
playset.
Yeah, long story short, glad the only thing is, as usual, I wish I'd bought more.
Yeah,
Me too. Like, I do own one of these.
Yeah, I think I have 2
I'm-
copies.
I'm definitely glad I bought it when I did.
Yeah.
Holy.
Next up, we have Path to the World Tree. It's 1 and a green for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library, and you can pay 2 and Wooburg, white, blue, black, red, and green to sacrifice Path of the World Tree. You gain 2 life and draw 2 cards. Target opponent loses 2 life. Path to the World Tree deals 2 damage to up to 1 target creature. You create a 2/2 green bear creature token.
2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 2.
This card is hilarious.
Cards
and
like
awesome.
cards like this really make me wonder why like Coalition Victory is banned in Commander. I just don't think it's that. I just don't think it's that like format warping.
Well, I mean, this is not
Coalition
necessarily
victory
like
sounds like a free win.
yeah, like
It's not a free win.
as a whole other conversation. But
Yeah.
That is.
Path to the World Tree, like this is actually it's funny because there are actually 5-color piles in limited going around, and Path to the World Tree is a playable card.
Oh wow!
It is-
In limited, it actually does give you a lot of value
Yeah, it is so freaking cool.
because like it fixes you in the beginning to try and get to the Wooburg, and then like you just get a lot of value when you sack it.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. Like I've honestly like for a while now I've been contemplating converting my Enchantress deck into like a 5-color Enchantress deck instead of just the banned Enchantress that it currently is. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
Path of the World Tree just seems like a fun include, just as a way to be a cantrip if I have an Enchantress on the battlefield, get a basic land out of my library, and just have a little bit of value stapled onto it if I can activate the Wooburg +2 activation cost. So it looks like a really fun card.
Draw 2 cards for 7 mana. It's good stuff.
Yeah, and get a bear. I've always wanted to pay 7 for a bear. That's good rate.
And you know Riley's gonna take his time with the rest of it, right? Like he's like, well, shit. He's like, who's gonna lose 2 life? What's gonna take 2 damage?
Yeah.
I'm gonna create the bear, but I'm not gonna do
Yeah.
it just right now. It's a psychological game. That's what I love about Commander. It's psychological.
And the fun thing is, I can do it at any time. I can just hold up 7 mana, do it at any time.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Whatever. I mean, we know you're gonna do it if you're, it's not a surprise. It's there on the battlefield. But yeah, you can do it at any time, technically.
Yeah.
Path to the
Now,
road tree.
now the question
Anytime.
is, do I have a Cyclonic Rift open, or do I have Path to the World Tree open?
That is the question.
Yeah.
That is the question. Next up, we have the Buy a Box promo. It's Realm Walker for 2 and a green for a 2/3 shapeshifter with Changeling. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast creature spells of the chosen type from the top of your library.
I love these effects where you can just like look at the top card of your library.
Yeah, it's just card advantage, right?
Oh
Yeah.
It seems fantastic. I'd run this in Azuri as well.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and any tribal deck with green, I would consider it.
Yeah,
Slivers?
Squirrels, slivers.
Yeah. Squirrels? Yeah, squirrels is the first one that comes to mind.
The list goes on.
Yeah.
Druids, that's another one you could do.
Yeah. Ooh,
it's a deep bench. It's a very deep bench. Dragons,
Oh, Riley's favorite, the elk.
the elk.
Yes. Elk
Yes.
tribal. It's making a comeback.
I think it's making like an original back, and I don't think it's quite there yet.
It's making
But
a
it's
first
happening.
appearance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
making
first
yes,
appearance.
yes. It's the first back. Yeah. Next up, we have Rootless U. It's 3 green for a 5/4 tree folk. When it dies, search your library for a creature card with power or toughness 6 or greater. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. I don't know how often we've seen a card that lets you tutor for a creature and that cares about both power and toughness. I think this might be the first time, and it's limiting.
Yeah, it's kind of limiting, but I think it's still like a pretty good card.
Yeah. Like, I'd run this in Tree Folk Tribal.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah,
got
I
big
might even run this in Yisan. Like usually the 5 CMC slot for Yisan is reserved for Seedborn Muse, but sometimes you have it in your hand, or it's on the battlefield, or you can't search for it for whatever reason, and
Might throw this bad boy into Animar.
yeah, you get it's a dies effect, so it's
Yeah.
not as ideal in Yisan, but yeah, it is 6 or greater. No, this is fantastic in Animar because you can get all those juicy Eldrazi.
Yeah.
You can get it that betrays.
Hey.
Yeah.
Also,
Nice.
this is pretty good and limited too. When I drafted that Battle Mammoth, I also had Rootless U and some other like big snake thing and something else, and it's like just have a lot of targets. When this dies, you get another big thing. It's a lot for your opponent to have to deal with.
Man, I love limited. I just love like the resource management of limited. Like you're picking cards and you're thinking about how your games are gonna go, and it's like you only have so much like I'm gonna win the game resources in your cards, and it's just it's such a unique way to play the game, and I just think it makes you a better player overall. I just I don't know. There's just I'm I wouldn't you guys know I don't consider myself a like a good limited player, but I just like I love the drafting aspect of it.
Oh yeah.
But like I just like that the whole resource management of it. I think it makes you such a better player, and just that way of it's not like grading cards, but like your evaluation of cards totally changes when you play limited. But I think that has a prolific effect on how you play Magic, and
It's definitely not the easiest thing, like knowing how powerful a card is and stuff. And it's still, even like when I first start playing draft of a new set, you kind of like figure out how well certain cards work and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
But it is definitely, that's kind of what's really fun, is just like, oh, like what card should I pick now, and like trying to figure out what to draft and stuff. It's just a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it is. It absolutely.
And also,
is.
that's what I really like. Like, Magic is the only card game out there that gives you a draft format, which is really cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is very unique. Which is, and I think I've brought this up on the show before, but those other card games, they don't have a draft format. Hearthstone has like Arena, but like Pokemon, for example, you can't draft those sets. So why are there bad cards? Like Magic gets that magic you can draft it, so there are bad cards. Like there are bad, it's, you have draft chaff, but with other card games, why is there draft chaff? You know what I mean?
Hi, welcome back to episode 2 of Turn 1 Pokemon.
Well, even like the other big one out there, like Yu-Gi-Oh, you can't that doesn't have a draft format either.
Yeah. And I know a hell of a lot less about Yu-Gi-Oh! I have no idea how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! My only experience with Pokemon is like 20 years ago, and Primetime Pokemon on YouTube, who, like, if you want to watch like an ASMR channel who's not going for ASMR, watch Primetime Pokemon on YouTube. So, anyways, let's get to the next card. It's Roots of Wisdom. It's 1 and a green for a sorcery. Mill 3 cards, then return a land card or elf card from your graveyard to your hand. If you can't, draw a card. And it's a sorcery. I think if I had to pick a favorite color, or if I had to pick a color that I most enjoyed piloting, I would say it was green. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody, but you just get to mill 3 cards. You return, like, this card fits into so many different deck builds. It's just it's just great. It's so versatile.
Yeah, assuming you're running elves, right?
No, you don't have to be running elves. You can just no, Riley. No, don't. Riley? Why are you being like this again?
Slam dunk in Treefolk Tribal.
Yeah. Oh, I got the U.
I mean, the biggest thing I like about Roots of Wisdom, and we saw it back in Zendikar as well with Adventured Waits, like they're not incredible cards by any means, but I like the templating of, if all else fails, draw a card.
Draw a card. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, exactly. And that's what I always come back to.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Next up, we have Rune of Might. It's 1 and a green for an enchantment or a rune. You enchant a permanent. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +1/+1 and has trample. And as long as enchanted permanent is an equipment, it has equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has trample. I really love the art on this card, how it's kind of like a close-up on a soldier's eyes. And it's like the rune on his helmet. It's just all these runes kind of do that. It's sort of like close-up imagery, but it's just very, I don't know, it's just very, it really pops. It's very poignant.
Also, the just like the style of the art is also very unique. You don't see very many chosen pieces of Magic art that have this kind of like contrasted oil kind of look to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So like all the other runes, this replaces itself and it gives you that flexibility of going onto an equipment. But I don't know. What are you guys thinking about this?
Same thing as the other runes, pretty much.
Yeah, like I think Rune of Might is one of the better ones. It gives a bit of a stat boost and gives trample as well. But again, yeah, just like the other runes, they replace themselves. If your deck cares about casting an aura or an enchantment and cantrapping with that, then you're probably going to want to play this. But yeah, it's fine.
Next up, we have Tusks, Bearer of Secrets. It's 3 and a green for a 1/1 legendary creature squirrel. The spell can't be countered. It's indestructible. It attacks each turn if able, and whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Squirrel Tribal, but this is also going to draw you a ton of cards in any creature heavy green deck. I'm thinking of Edric, I'm thinking of Azuri, just any deck that has green and is going wide with creatures. This is great. I mean, it has to attack each turn if able, but it also is indestructible. It can't be countered. It's like it's like Wizards. I'll draw cards. I'll do it. You don't have to force it on me like this.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine. I was gonna attack anyways. Jeez.
I was gonna draw cards anyways, but you're just giving it to me. I think go Squirrel Tribal. That's great, but I think this already has a home in multiple commander decks.
Oh yeah, easy. Like this card's fantastic, and you could go Voltron. Like, of course,
that's my thought.
It incentivizes going wide, but you could go Voltron. Like, it is an uncounterable, indestructible squirrel that you could just, play some battlecruiser magic with.
Yeah, this is a very hard permanent to deal with, because then, like, if you also give it hexproof, like, you have to make that player sacrifice this creature. It just has so much protection built in. I think it's a really good option for, like, a mono green Voltron deck.
Yeah, and you don't even need to with Voltron decks, I've always found that it's more of an insurance than that I've actually had to deal with it in real life play. But like throwing a Cavern of Souls in there and just choosing whatever one or both of the creature types, and with this it's like, well, I don't even have to worry about that. So I just saved like $90. Boom, boom, roasted. Next up, we have Tyvar Kell. It's 2 green for a legendary planeswalker Tyvar with 3 loyalty. He has a static ability. Elves you control have tap, add a black to your mana pool. His +1 is put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target elf. Untap it. It gains Death Touch until end of turn. He has a 0 ability. Create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. And his -6 is you get an emblem with whenever you cast an elf spell, it gains haste until end of turn, and you draw a card. You draw 2 cards.
2 cards.
Boom.
Pardon me, and that's an emblem. That is an emblem. It takes a while to get to that emblem, but you are also playing elves, so ideally you're going to be able to have enough elf bodies to block and keep old Tyvar Kell on the battlefield.
Totally. I think this guy's just really good for elf decks. Even if you are like mono green, your other elves can tap for the black to pay for like colorless costs and stuff.
Can you run this in a mono green elf commander deck? Isn't black in his color identity?
Yeah.
No, it's not. Or is it? Because isn't it in the?
Well, it's in the rules text. It's not part of reminder text.
Yeah, because like X
it's
Store
not reminder
is
text,
reminder text. I think you'd have to run this in a Golgari deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I would totally put this in Azuri, but
It sucks to be you.
Yeah. Well, yes.
Zuri himself is already so good.
Sometimes it does, but then I think about like like the average height of people, and I'm like, you know what? I'm doing fine. It's all about perspective. That's what I say.
And you've got a taller perspective, is what you're saying?
I do. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Vorinclex Monstrous Raider.
Yeah, speaking of tall.
He's a big boy.
Yeah, this
4 green for a 6/6 legendary Praetor Phyrexian Praetor, excuse me, has trample and haste. If you would put one or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead. If an opponent would put one or more counters on a permanent or player, they put half that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead, rounded down. Like, I'm guessing at a storyline they're going to go here next. If they're like going into the Praetor thing and they're going to bring back all the Praetors, I think we're going to see Karn as a planeswalker that, you know, in the next set or the next couple of sets where he's going to have to deal with these things because he's all about just wiping out Phyrexia. But I think this
maybe maybe Urza will make an appearance in Strixhaven because it's like a school thing.
Maybe.
That'd be cool.
Ooh. Would be.
Yeah. As like a spirit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is a much more fun Vorinclex to play against in Commander,
Sure
because original Vorinclex is it's like kill on sight. Like, you'd sacrifice your mana to kill that, and everyone would be like, "Oh, like, you know, I'm so happy you did that for me. I'm not, you know, like, you're safe for now because like you had to tap your lands and they don't untap." Yeah.
Yeah, like a 6/6 trample haste doubling season in the command zone sounds a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, totally.
But it also absolutely turns off sagas for your opponents.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, that's that's a thing. So like, I mean, if you're using like what is there's a Golgari saga in this set. It's like Bind to the Old Gods or something like that.
You got it.
Or Binding of the Old
Destroys
Gods.
a permanent.
Yeah, it shuts that down. Shuts off Elspeth Conqueror's Death. Obviously, if your opponent's playing any kind of counter synergy deck, like, it's going to destroy that. But it also doubles up your Planeswalker's loyalty when they come onto the battlefield. So you can, you know, play an Ugin, ultimate an Ugin, play Tybalt, ultimate Tybalt. Yeah, play the Planeswalker of your choice that's going to ultimate when it doubles up, and just ultimate it right away. So, good old doubling season effect.
Well, you can't Tybalt. Tybalt's not mono green.
No, I'm just thinking in standard. Like, I've seen.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I got Commander on the brain.
Yeah, but yeah, like any green Planeswalker, if you wanted to do a Super Friends deck in mono green, like, this would be a pretty good choice to lead that deck, because it is basically doubling season in the command zone. Obviously, it doesn't double tokens, but like, I'm sure that's not the effect you're looking for.
Yeah, who gives a shit? No.
And yeah, like, I think that, like, I'd rather see this Vorinclex than the other one on the battlefield.
Yeah. I think just being able to interact with it, like, obviously shutting down sagas is a little frustrating, but being able to interact with it in other ways, like still having lands available to you to tap for mana, is a pretty big upside.
You're like, hey, I can actually still play the game when that's on the battlefield. Cool.
Yeah, more or less.
Also, the alternate art with the Phyrexian writing.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna move on to colorless cards here. Our first one up is Bloodline Pretender. It's 3 mana for a 2/2 artifact creature shapeshifter. It has Changeling, and as it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever another creature of the chosen type enters the battlefield under your control, you put a 1/1 counter on Bloodline Pretender.
Be who you wanna be.
This reminds me of a Metallic Mimic, I think it is, from Kaladesh.
Except it goes tall.
Yeah, it's the opposite. So Metallic Mimic would put the counters on the creatures that come into play. In this way, the Pretender gets the counters.
And see, that's what I like about Metallic Mimic, is that it's concerned about making its offspring tall, right? Bloodline Pretender is just like, I want to make myself tall. And like I was saying earlier, that's not the way. I'm kidding. This is the way.
Yeah. But yeah, just like, It's colorless. It's any creature type you want it to be. It gets thick. So, like, it looks like fun. I'm sure you can find a use for it. If you care about a
Yeah.
creature type, you probably care about a changeling that can go into any deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like universal automaton.
There you go. Play it in every single deck. Period.
Well, I think we're gonna have a disclaimer for that statement. But moving on to the next card, Cosmos Elixir. It's 4 mana for an artifact. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card if your life total is greater than your starting life total. Otherwise, you gain 2 life.
This is a good card.
Yeah, this is especially in limited, like
Oh yeah, it's great and limited.
trying to get all these little bits of damage through and stuff, and then you're just like, I get 2 life a turn.
Or worse, I get to draw a card.
Yeah.
No, I just mean from like your opponent, like, that they're trying to deal damage to you, but if you've gotten to the point where you've gained enough life, where your life total is greater than your starting life total, you get to draw a card, which is, more. It has more of an impact on the game than gaining 2 life.
It's more better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next up, we have Maskwood Nexus. It's 4 mana for an artifact. Creatures you control are every creature type. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. And you can pay 3 to tap this to create a 2/2 blue shapeshifter creature token with Changeling. So this is a great commander card, 4 mana to just keep pumping out creatures, but also to get that all creature spells have that effect. It really stops you from having to cut the crust off the shit sandwich that you may have built. Which is nice. It's just like one less thing, right? You have this, the only problem with this is that it has to be on the battlefield to get this effect. So it seems, and like I fall into this trap where I see this card and I'm like, okay, this is going to be on the battlefield. But, I'm again thinking about this for Commander. How often do you see the same card on the battlefield? It's not like a turn 1 Soul Ring. It doesn't happen every game. This is a Maskwood Nexus. So, it's that's just something to consider. These cards I think are more I don't know. It's not a win more card, but it just feels like a card that if you can't reliably get it on the battlefield, I think you need to consider how many creature cards in a tribal deck that aren't of that tribe, and you're putting this card in the deck to adjust for that. I think that calculation needs to be made.
I feel like this is a very fun card. Like if you are inspired by and get a lot of joy from jank, like this is the kind of card for you. Like you just want to do some weird, wacky tribal synergy stuff. It's kind of like an arcane adaptation or kind of a conspiracy effect, but of course it's colorless. You can go into any deck that you want to tinker with weird tribal synergies, and just another addition for tribal. So here we go.
Yeah, I guess I just feel like, like it is a fun card. No, I think I think that covers it. Let's move on to Pyre of Heroes. It's 2 mana for an artifact. You can pay 2 to tap it, sacrifice a creature, search your library for a creature card that shares a creature type with the sacrificed creature and has converted mana cost equal to 1+ that creature's converted mana cost. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery.
This card is like good and also kind of awkward.
Yeah.
Because if we're talking about wanting it in, tribes like humans and elves and stuff like that, those tribes care about getting those creatures out, but also like amassing them on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And with this one, you do have to sacrifice the creature as well. So you're not like gaining that board momentum. You're just getting something a little bit stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Might be interesting for like a zombie aristocrat deck.
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah.
maybe even like a vampire aristocrat kind of deck.
Are there enough different mana costs in Sphinxes to make this usable?
Well, there's
I
enough
don't-
changelings probably.
There's those changelings, but the low end of Sphinxes, no,
It's like
not
4.
really. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like 4. Yeah, I think that's probably where they start is 4 mana.
Yeah.
Yeah, this might be a fun card to tinker with, but I don't think it's over the top by any means. It's kind of like a more restricted birthing pod.
Ooh, dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dragons.
There's little dragons.
Yeah.
Wee little dragons.
Next up, we have Replicating Ring. It's 3 mana for a snow artifact. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a night counter on Replicating Ring. Then, if it has 8 or more night counters on it, remove all of them and create 8 colorless snow artifact tokens. Name Replicating Ring with tap. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So this is it's just like super slow. I guess it's like a slightly better. Well, it's not slightly better. It's a it's a much higher ceilinged manolith.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like decent mana fixing. I guess if you had a commander deck that had like
Proliferate.
the derp. Yeah, thank you. This would be really good in that kind of style of deck. I did one of my drafts. I was doing a 3-color deck, so I did run this, and one of my matches actually went so long that it popped off the ability.
Oh wow.
And yeah,
That's the first I've ever heard of that happening.
And I can't remember exactly how the match went, but then again, I thought they were just like treasures, and then when I tapped them, they stayed around. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I just have a crap ton of mana now.
Yeah. More than you'll ever need.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's for limited, like it's actually playable because there's a lot of like it's a snow artifact, so obviously it produces snow mana, and counts as a
And then
snow
color
ornament.
fixing.
And it does color fix, and there's quite a few janky like 3-color, 4-color, 5-color snow brews going around in limited that this is actually more playable than I would have expected. But yeah, I think Kevin, to your point, like it is basically just a mana lift. Like it's probably not going to reach that 8-turn clock, and at that point, like all the power to you. If you don't already have more than enough mana to use, and you need 8 additional copies of this card, like yeah, sure, take it.
Sure.
Yeah, I definitely see it as more of a commander card that just like that's not a threat. We're not going to deal with it, and we get to turn 12 or whatever. So next up we have Ruined Crown. It's 3 mana for an artifact equipment. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library, hand, and or graveyard for a rune card and put it onto the battlefield attached to Rune Crown. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, and the equipped cost is 2.
You should get to search your library for like any amount of rune cards.
Yeah, that would make this a lot better because I think I don't think the 3 mana casting cost really. I think for me, that's where the playability of this card kind of stops. Just from a commander perspective.
Oh yeah, like I don't think this. Even just like seeing it being played, it's like, oh, you got out you can make your creatures now flying or whatever. Like
Yeah.
it's the same as playing
It's like a build
an
your own
artifact that could have done that.
Yeah, build your own equipment kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's fine. Like I'm sure if you have a I don't know, like a Boros commander that has the white rune and the red rune in it, could be a nice little 2 target that replaces itself essentially because the rune entering the battlefield is going to draw you a card. But it's not going to be anything exceptional. Like at the end
Yeah.
of the day, you're spending 3 mana for this effect, and whether or not that's worth it, like, I don't know. That's kind of up for you to decide.
Next up, we have Weathered Runestone. It's 2 mana for an artifact, non-land permanents. Non-land permanent cards in graveyards and libraries can't enter the battlefield. Players can't cast spells from graveyards or libraries. I'm not. Well, first of all, this isn't going to see standard play, but at least I don't think it will. But you guys know I'm not a fan of cards like this. I'm not at least on this episode or the last one, I made a comment about how I'm not a fan of stacks, and the reason for that being is I'm just not a fan of things that slow down the game. I'm more of the opinion of if you want to win the game, then you should just build a deck that can win the game. Whereas as opposed to, I guess, building a deck that halts your opponents in doing what they want to do so that you can win the game. But it's occurring to me now that maybe stacks players don't want to win the game. Is that a commander thing? Is that like a commander philosophy that
might be
that winning the game is not the overarching goal?
I don't know.
Well, I think you need to win the game, but I think you also need answers to what other people are doing, and that's what the Weathered Runestone does.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Grafdigger's Cage that covers more than just creatures. Like, that's
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think it's one of those tools, kind of like Grafdigger's Cage and like Pithing Needle style effects, like what is it?
Oh, Phyrexian Revoker is another one.
Yeah, Phyrexian Revoker. They're just kind of tools that, like, Magic is notorious for at times breaking itself, and then you have these broken strategies that are just dominant and overpowering. But, like, having these tools in your tool belt to be able to stop or combat those strategies is always kind of a nice thing to have, and I do like the counterplay that it provides. But when it comes to stacks, of course, like that's like a whole other philosophy. Is preventing people from winning the game, like progressing your game plan to the point where you're going to win the game, or is it the idea that preventing your opponents from winning the game, making you win? I don't know. Like that's a whole other commander philosophy, but.
Yeah, if you're putting like 20 to 30 cards in your commander deck that are stopping people from doing things, it's like that's a lot of cards, and that's on the like very stacks end of things. But if you have like 4 or 5 cards that are giving you options to turn other things off, I think that's still like a viable thing to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess for me it comes down to I would rather I really do think the more time passes and the more content I consume and the more games I play in Commander, I feel myself being pulled more towards the CEDH end of things, where I would rather play, not that stacks pieces don't show up in that format, but I would rather play over the course of like 3 hours, I would rather play 5 games than 1 game. And I think that those 5 games lend themselves more to the CEDH end of things, and that 1 game lends itself more to the just like the most casual version of Commander. So no, it's not, I don't categorically dislike these cards. Eric, I think you put it really well that, well, I think you both put it really well. Riley, in terms of, are these cards that are slowing down your opponents? Are they helping you win the game? And Eric, with what you said with, are you just putting an immense amount of these cards into your deck to slow down your opponents, or are you just putting them in surgically so that they slow down specific things? And yeah, I think in both those scenarios, if if these cards help you win the game, then great. If you're putting these cards in to, surgically slow down your opponents, that they're doing these things, then great. But just stacks for the sake of stacks, or chaos for the sake of chaos, I'm not interested in. But even before the pandemic, there was not, even in the most competitive circles of EDH at local game stores in our city, there still wasn't a competitive outlet to play in.
Yeah, no, all that's well said.
Yeah. Anyways, so you know what? We are going to wrap things up with Weathered Runestone. We will be back next week with the gold and land cards. I think we sort of mentioned we were going to do land cards, but there just wasn't enough time. So this is going to be a 4-part set review. We'll be back next week. And if there are any cards that you're excited to slot into a deck or two that we've missed, you can let us know in the comment section of wherever you're listening to this, or you can DM us on Instagram if you want the most immediate response. But in the meantime, thank you for listening, and we will be back next week.
Thanks, everybody.
See you around.
All right, bye now.
I really wonder what secrets Toski's keeping.
Tell me your secrets.
Squirrel.
Turn 1 Soul Ring.
Come on, I think.
It's